Welcome to the PropLinq AI podcast, where we talk to operators, advisors, and innovators shaping the future of real estate. I'm Stuart Quintal, founder of PropLinq AI, where we help real estate businesses adopt an AI and smart systems to unlock scalable growth. Today, I'm joined by Brad Balletto, Managing Director at Northeast Private Client Group, one of the top investment sales brokerages in the Northeast US, specializing in multifamily, commercial, and mixed use. And they built a business around one powerful principle: relationships over transactions. Brad, it's great to have you.
Good to be here, man. Thank you for contacting me.
From now, like with any, any sort of story, let's start with your story. How did you get into this side of the real estate world, and what's your role at Northeast Property Client Group today?
All right, so I'll try to be quick as to how I got into real estate. A little circuitous, but I was a math major out of college. I was actually I started as like on the actuary career path, did that for a little while, and kind of realized pretty quickly that wasn't what I wanted to do. I think it's a great job. I actually have a cousin that's an actuary. I think they actually consider it one of like the best quality of life and of any profession. And I bet it's a better quality of life than being a real estate broker, but that's another topic. But anyway, I decided I didn't want to do that. Wasn't really sure what to do with the math major. Went on the American Math Association website to see what do you do with a math major if you don't want to be. I don't want to be a teacher. My parents are everybody in my family is a teacher, that not counting that cousin that's an actuary. And I saw a real estate appraiser. So I was like, well, I always was kind of interested in real estate, certainly interested in architecture. So I got a job as a real estate appraiser for a couple of years. Learned a lot about the real estate business, I guess like a good intro to real estate. Appraisal is just an interesting business. It got kind of repetitive. I was doing mostly residential, it's just very repetitive, and wanted to grow. And so I applied for some jobs as appraiser in New York City and also as a broker. Never thought I wanted to be in sales, and basically was offered a position as a appraiser making like $45,000 a year, but that was in New York City, or a position as a broker making $0 a year, but that was in Connecticut and I got to live at home. So that actually sounded like a better economic choice than the $45,000 a year living in Manhattan. So that's what I decided to do. The guy that hired me is Ed Jordan. That was at a different firm. About 2 years after I started, he kind of approached me and said, I want to start my own thing. Would you want to come with me? And so in July of 2010, Ed and I, the two of us, were the first two people at Northeast Private Client Group. That was 15 years ago, basically like a couple of weeks ago. And my role here, just to be clear, when I started, I was 2 years into the business. I had no idea what I was doing. Ed had been doing it for about a decade, and maybe even a little more. And so how my role has grown. Now I'm the senior most agent, aside from Ed, the founder, and my title is managing director, but I kind of really focus, my day-to-day is on brokerage in Connecticut of investment properties, and then also help with sort of the sort of steering the ship. I'm not managing the company, but I am contributing to how the company is managed.
Okay. Now you've carved out a niche, I guess, in investment sales. Was that by design from day one?
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I should tell you what Northeast Private Client Group does, what I do, what we do. So we are strictly investment sales firm. So we only sell investment real estate. We don't sell houses. We don't lease space. We don't property manage. We're not. If you wanted to buy a building to put your company in, we wouldn't be the best. We do occasionally have vacant buildings, but really our Our clients are investors. We sell a couple $100 million worth of real estate a year. Our typical deal size is around $5 million, but we sell everything from $500,000 properties all the way up to $50 million properties. Our business is built on exclusive seller representation, and that's been the case from the start. Now, to be clear, buyers are great clients and friends, and we want to sell you a property and then sell it, have you be successful and sell it for you more in the future. But what we've kind of tried to do is, and I think we've done a pretty good job of, is developed a process that will generate the best possible outcome for a seller. So we kind of pride ourselves on again, exclusive seller representation. If you have a property you want to sell, we think we can give you the best outcome, which is really the highest possible price and the best possible terms at the time that you want to market, right? I feel pretty passionately that, if you hire us, within a couple of percent, like, we're going to uncover the best possible market valuation, that property will achieve at that given time. And so we've kind of, I think we've got a reputation for doing that. We also try to provide, like, again, with an average deal size of about $5 million, that's certainly a sub-institutional, and it's funny because sub-institutional when I started was like up to 10 million. Now it's like up to 200 million, right? But we try to provide a sort of institutional level of service and an institutional level process and an institutional level of analysis to a non-institutional investor, hence the private client. That's what the private client means. So that's what I do. That's what we do. We do that really from the Hudson River kind of east, from New York City north up to Albany, all through all through New England, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, southern Maine. It gets a little, commercial real estate gets a little sparse as you get towards the Canadian border. So we don't get too far up there, but, try to certainly cover all the New England markets.
Okay. Now, with, I guess, as you sort of mentioned, you're offering a institutional level of service, which I guess means a lot of the time is spent on non-transactional advisory. What kind of value are clients asking for?
So it's funny. It's like, what are they asking for, or what can we provide without them asking for? But I would say, look, everything from, I'm just trying, like, we met with a guy last week who owns properties, has been successful, has investors that have kind of tracked him down and said, I'd like to invest with you and have you go out and buy properties and invest my money in them. And so he was like, I have a good idea how to do that, but, like, do you have any attorneys that you could recommend for that? Like, how would I go about formalizing that process? So we recommend attorneys. That also happened to be a conversation about giving him a valuation of his property that he would consider selling, but only if he were able to buy another property that he could exchange into. So we provide valuation services, obviously, that's really one of the foundations of a sales process, but also just how do my rents stack up against others in the market? How do my expenses stack up against others in the market? I'm having trouble. Do you know a plumber? It's as a broker, one of the interesting things is you're basically like an information aggregator, right? Like, every day I talk to, I don't know, like, a lot of people that own investment real estate in Connecticut. Most people that own investment real estate in Connecticut don't spend their day talking to a lot of other owners. They're focused on operations. So, like, the amount of information that I have incoming about, things that are working, things that are not working, challenges, opportunities, fears, just all of these things, you just kind of, if you're paying any attention, you can't help but learn a lot of things. And then your ability to share that information with others, I think that's kind of like a good broker is really just like we cold call. How do we meet clients? We cold call. But like, I'm not cold calling you to try to sell your building. I mean, that'd be crazy. Like, you don't know me. You own a $5 million, 10 million, whatever. Like, you're not. We're strangers. I'm not calling you to try to, or nor am I calling you to try to sell you. If we're not going to do that over the phone. What I can do is maybe add value just by sharing information that I have that maybe you have, maybe you don't. So that's kind of, I think, as an advisor, it's just sharing information, and whether that's valuation perspective, lending perspective, legal, market conditions, all of these things, that's just sort of how we try to. And also, I think it's also just like, defending the clients. But sometimes you'd be amazed. Like, I think a lot of times we as brokers are more, a good broker also is like more concerned with the client's best interest sometimes than they themselves are. You know what I mean? Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you got to do this for yourself. I mean, I have clients that I've been telling, dude, you got to raise your rents. You got to raise your rents. Like, you're so far behind everyone else. Not that we're here to, eliminate affordable housing, but like, you're 20% less than your neighbor. Go to 10% less than your neighbor, for goodness sakes. So I don't know. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, you're sort of like almost like the town cry, but also I suppose when you're in touch with so many property owners in the areas that you're in the market, you're probably in touch with a lot of market intelligence. Are you using that information? You're obviously using that market intelligence for your business, but also with your prospects as well. Is that helping?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Like, yeah. Again, like, I think you can, like, if you're prospecting, I'm at a point now where my prospecting is like highly targeted, right? It's a little more where when I started, I'm calling people I didn't know anyone. So you're calling to get to know, you're calling to build relationships with basically anyone that'll talk to you that owns a type of property that we would add value to. Today it's a little more like getting in the nooks and crannies. Like, I'm calling people and saying, like, dude, shame on me. I'm in your market and we don't know each other. Like, I can't believe I can't believe we haven't spoken before, and that's my fault, not yours. But to that point, that market information, the conversation that I'm having with that person, if I know every owner on their street except for them, is a lot different. I know when they bought, when they sold. I might have sold them the building. I might have sold the building for them. I know what things are sold for. I know what people are renting for. So yes, I know what's going. I know what new construction is in the market and what people are struggling with, what people are afraid of. So I think yes, it's sort of, maybe you take it for granted a little bit. It's an interesting question that you asked, because I guess indirectly, yes, all that market intelligence totally helps with prospecting. But I'm not calling a guy up and saying, like, hey, I'm Brad Balletto. We've never spoken before. Did you know that the building, maybe, again, early on you're saying, like, hey, I'm just calling to let you know the building around the corner sold for this price. Like, what do you think of that? Now it's just a little bit more like, what are you up to, and how can I help? And then kind of where that conversation goes, I'm generally pretty prepared for it.
Yep. Now, if I sort of looked at the technology side, and we've sort of chatted about the role of tech in a brokerage space, but what tools or systems are currently part of your workflow?
Yeah. So I guess, like, there's sort of like the brokerage continuum, right? Which is like, at least how I think about it, is like the call, the meeting, the partner, the analysis partner, the project, whatever that may be, the listing, the contract, the closing. So I'll try to think about these things, how each one of those. So the call, we have a contact management database, a CRM that I think is built on like Salesforce. And then we use online database services to get that catalog the properties and the owners, and really what we're trying to do, without giving away the secret sauce. I don't think it's that secret. Like, you're just trying to identify the type of properties that fit with with our business, and then find out who owns them and meet those people. I mean, that's really as simple as it is. So we use databases, et cetera, to find the properties and who owns them. Contacts management. Then we make the calls. I mean, as far as analysis is concerned, a lot of Excel. And then when it comes to like a project or sort of a presentation, graphics design, Adobe graphics design software and things of that nature. And then also other databases for demographics or traffic or drive time, things like that. Websites also for, figuring out, a lot of the recent sales, whatever it may be. Then marketing, we have sort of a marketing service that hosts our listings and then links to a email provider that sends out email blasts. We subscribe to marketing platforms that also we put our listings on. And then I guess the contract management, we do a little bit of that in our CRM, but I think we do a little bit. That's really sort of, pen and paper, like in everyone's head, like, where are we? What's going? You're talking to people every day. You kind of know what's going on. Again, the CRM has it, but like that's might even be in here. You kind of can't miss it. And then closing, we have accounting software and stuff like that. So I don't know. Kind of tried to go through all the different types of tech that we use. I don't know if that was good or not.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess there's some systems there, some manual stuff still. Probably Excel's in there. I heard. Where do you see the role of like AI fitting in?
So I think AI could definitely. I mean, and I want to be clear. Like, I'm an idiot, right? Like, that's why I'm a real estate. I'm a dummy. So like, I'm making guesses. I don't understand AI, but I would bet AI could be pretty good at scraping property records and getting contacts and basically creating a database. I would imagine that would be something that AI could do. I would imagine that AI could probably do the same thing with recent transactions, rent comps, sales comps, and just kind of like, again, almost automate, like, I need sales comps for apartment buildings in New Haven. Now, it happens to be I know them, but like, at least build a foundation that, like, here's everything that's sold, here's the registered purchase prices, here's the information of the property, just kind of put all that together. Same thing with rents. I think AI could probably be pretty helpful in, it's interesting. It's like identifying opportunities is a tricky one. I think the real estate business is heavily nuanced, and I think it's hard to it's not, I think there's so much less data, and it's so much less, stock market, there's trades all the time. It's so much easier to identify behaviors, whereas the real estate market is sticky, right? Like properties, you don't have that same level of like hundred, only so many properties sell a year and each one of them is different. And it's very hard to like triangulate what about them led to that pricing and motivations and stuff like that. So I think the identifying opportunities thing would be a hard thing for AI to be involved in. I do think in marketing package production, graphic design, I would say there's definitely some opportunity for AI to get involved there and provide demographics, provide graphic support, provide some like copy like about locations, demographics, et cetera, et cetera. I think probably there's an opportunity for AI to monitor like incoming leads from a marketing perspective. I get emails all day from people, hey, what's the price, or what's can I have information like I'm sure there's probably an agent that could be created that just fires off an email on my behalf really quickly. And then also I think probably some opportunity to automate key dates in work, like key dates in transit. Like a big thing in our business is like, when was the contract signed, when do the contingencies close, so like rather than us, like we've got it in our CRM. Our CRM is kind of like a transaction management software as well, but like us, I'm sure there's a better way to automate alerts and stuff like that. I don't know. Those are some ideas. Again, and maybe even I think it's tricky. So analysis is another one, like financial analysis. It's another one where there's a lot of nuance to it, and maybe it would be a first pass, but then how far away from where you are actually headed did you get? I think what I described is where I think the best opportunities are. I think there's other opportunities, but I'd be a little less comfortable.
Yeah, it's like at a point where I guess it's still required. Like AI can do some, but humans still needs to be involved in a lot of the process.
For sure.
Some areas it could be more upgraded. Other areas you definitely need more human involvement. If we talk now like future goals and like industry outlook, like from the road ahead, what are you personally focused on? So I'll ask personal and team and company. Okay. So what are you personally focused on over the next 6 to 12 months?
Next 6 to 12 months is a short time frame. What am I focused
All
on?
right, we're 12, 18 months.
Yeah. I mean, listen, personally, 6 to 12 months. I think always. Let me just. My light just clicked off. I think what I'm focused on, kind of always, is like decreasing. I'm trying to avoid saying like making more money, right? Because that's kind of, I think, brokerage is an entrepreneurial career, and as much as we actually talk about this all the time, it's like you spend. I think it's about the money, but it's also like not showing up and banging your head against the wall and not seeing results. It happens to be that the results of being of good brokerage means like making money, right? Like because it's a commission based job, but I think it's more. I think what I'd say a personal goal is to do more of the things that generate the highest return on my time, and do those, and also with the least amount of stress. So try to like try to try to better, easier, whatever it may be. So I would say that's a personal goal of mine. I don't want to bore you with like personal life. I don't think that's important, but I think personal, professionally, I think that's something that I'd like to try to do. And part of that I've started to do, which is I've been much better about bringing in other agents to help me with things or delegating things, and just kind of playing being like key. There's a few key points in a transaction and kind of like playing the key roles and then letting others kind of handle a lot more of the, in the weeds kind of stuff. No, team wise, I think kind of just the same. Like I'd like to see. I'd love it if everyone on the team had the same level of commitment that I think I do. So I think it's sort of like trying to foster that type of level of commitment, and also bringing in people that have that level of commitment. And I think that flows into company. Is just like the goal is to grow the company, and I think you can do that. Really at the end of the day, you grow the company by making more money, which is by selling more buildings. And I think there's two ways to do that, which is like the existing agents sell more buildings, and then you bring on more people that sell buildings, right?
Yeah,
So I think we're kind of focused on both of those, on the helping the existing agents make more money or sell more buildings, excuse me. Uh, kind of building out a little bit more of a platform, whether that be marketing, whether that be analysis, whether that be, training and support, resources, or even just fostering like and standardizing processes and collaboration, so that like you're not really getting the agents to not have to worry about anything but selling buildings, right?
yeah,
Generate new opportunities. And providing advisory service. I shouldn't say selling buildings, just like engaging with clients is a better
building
word.
relationships is one. Yeah,
Building
building the
relationships.
relationship.
Exactly. And then the other side is bringing in people that we think can help build relationships that it's a tough business to get started, and you make no money, you get rejected a lot. It takes a certain kind of person to be a real estate broker. So trying to find those types of people and retain and develop them and retain them. So those are the kind of the two things that we're focused on.
Yeah. Now, you kind of answered another question I had or have just generally for people in this business. Is like, do you think the brokerage as a business is going to look very different in 5 years? We've just talked about the relationship purpose there, or in 5 years' time, will the brokerage as a business be completely different, or will it still be about relationship and trust?
You're asking the wrong guy, because I'm like a rock when it comes to like my ability to move and change, right? I like to say I have a lot of inertia, right? So like if I'm going the direction I'm going, and I'm just, it's like it's a shortcoming of mine. But I'm very much just like fighting the battles I have every day, and trying to just micro adjust and steer the ship. Well, I think brokerage is going to be a lot. I think at the end of the day, brokerage is about relationships. And I don't know, I guess the context of this conversation is AI and tech. Like, I don't know how you replace a like, it's not like I can't tell you how many times I get yelled at a week, right? Like another role of a broker, frankly, is like it's like a little bit of a therapist. It's almost like a little bit like a divorce attorney kind of thing. Like you've got two people who kind of like have opposing motivations, right? Like and trying to remind them that actually we all need to work together to get to, like, buyer wants to buy for the least, seller wants to sell for the most, and they kind of like, so trying to like manage that process takes like, there's like an emotional and like a EQ kind of aspect to it. And again, like I think reminding people that like we're all working towards a goal, and that goal is something that you both want, right? Like you're buying the building because it benefits your business in some way. You're selling the building because it's there's a future on the other side of selling that building that you want to realize, right? Like it's not about the buildings, it's not about the sale, it's about what's on the other. It's not about the purchase. It's all about what's on the other side of it, right? And like we all have to get there together. Like at the end, everybody wins. We just have to get there. I think it's really hard to replace having that person in between when, number one, reminding everyone of that. Number two, especially when everybody gets mad because things don't go as planned, because nothing ever goes as planned in a real estate transaction. I do think what could change is the back end, the processes and the systems. I think that could look very different. I think how we generate marketing content, how we generate leads, how we respond to leads, how we organize our information, how we organize the data that we aggregate. I think all of those things could get very different.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Brad, but it's been a great conversation, and probably one way I sum it up as being a reminder that in a data-rich world, the real leverage still comes from people, trust, and execution. And like the theme of this one is relationships matter, even in a data-rich world. So, Brad, where's the best place for listeners to find out more about you and the Northeast Private Client Group?
Thank you for asking. So we're www.northeast, spelled out like the direction, P like Peter, C like Charlie, G like George.com, northeastpcg.com. I'm first name, last initial, B Balletto, BBALLETTO at northeastpcg.com. My cell phone, you can call me 860-420-9775. Please call me. That's how call me, text me, whatever.
AI is just you got to get AI callers just spamming you now.
Yeah, right. I don't care. Guys, send them. That's okay. So that's how you can find me. And we're here in Shelton, Connecticut, if you ever want to stop by, or Newton, Mass.
Thanks very much, Brad. And if you're in real estate operator looking to modernize your systems, introduce AI workflows, or just scale smarter, visit us at PropLinq AI. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll speak to you next time.